What if I told you that tomorrow morning you could eat just one strategically chosen meal, and within 18 hours your entire body would flip a metabolic switch that transforms you into a fat-burning machine? Not after weeks of suffering through brutal workouts, not after months of starving yourself on some impossible diet, just 18 hours. And within 7 days, the changes become so real, so measurable, that when you step on that scale, you'll actually see the proof staring back at you. This isn't another empty promise from some internet guru trying to sell you magic pills. This comes directly from the groundbreaking research and lived experience of Dr. Andrew Huberman, a metabolic scientist who spent years of his life trapped in his own body, fighting a battle he couldn't seem to win no matter what he tried. He followed every rule, trusted every expert, and still watched helplessly as the weight kept piling on. Dr. Huberman wasn't some lazy person who refused to take care of himself. He was a scientist who understood the human body at levels most of us can't even comprehend. He exercised religiously, never missing his workouts. He followed every single dietary recommendation that doctors handed him. He read the fitness magazines, calculated his calories, and did everything the conventional wisdom told him to do. And yet, despite all that effort, despite all that knowledge, the fat kept accumulating on his body like he was doing something fundamentally wrong. The frustration ate away at him because he knew he was trying harder than most people ever would. But then something shifted. He stopped obsessing over calories and exercise intensity and started looking at something almost everyone completely ignores: the very first meal you eat each day and how it immediately impacts your blood glucose levels. When you change that first meal, something absolutely remarkable begins happening inside your body within minutes. Your glucose levels in the bloodstream shift immediately after that first bite. Your insulin, which is the hormone that acts like a gatekeeper, either locking fat away in storage or releasing it to be burned for fuel, responds within minutes of you eating. But here's where this gets truly mind-blowing. Within just 18 hours of eating differently, your body starts producing elevated levels of something called ketone bodies. These aren't some mysterious chemicals. They're the actual byproducts of fat metabolism, the literal smoking gun evidence that your body has stopped running on sugar and has begun burning your own stored fat for fuel instead. Dr. Huberman didn't just read about this in some abstract research paper. He observed these changes happening in his own body, watching the transformation unfold in real time. The fat oxidation process accelerates dramatically. The metabolic switch flips from sugar-burning mode to fat-burning mode, and all of this happens within the first 24 hours of making this change. But that's honestly just the beginning of what happens when you give your body the right signals. Over the next 7 days, a complete cascade effect takes place inside you at a cellular level. The insulin level that was previously elevated and keeping all your fat locked away in storage like a prison starts dropping. As it drops, that fat is finally liberated and broken down into usable energy. The free fatty acids that were trapped in your cells for months or even years start circulating in your bloodstream, ready and available to be used as fuel for everything your body does. Your body literally begins feeding itself off its own fat reserves, and you don't have to suffer through starvation to make it happen. This isn't about depriving yourself until you feel miserable and give up. This isn't about white-knuckling your way through constant hunger. This is simply your metabolism functioning exactly the way it was designed to function when you give it the right signals, instead of confusing it with constant spikes in blood sugar. Now, you're probably wondering something pretty obvious. If Dr. Huberman is a metabolic scientist, someone who literally studies how the human body works at a molecular level, why did he struggle with his weight in the first place? That's the exact question that haunted him for years and drove him deeper into his research. He was doing everything that society told him was right. He wasn't lazy or ignorant or making excuses. He was actively, desperately trying to lose weight, following all the standard advice that gets repeated everywhere, and yet his body just kept accumulating more and more fat tissue. The frustration wasn't just about how he looked in the mirror. As he dug deeper into the research, he came to realize just how dangerous that excess fat was becoming to his overall health. And more importantly, he discovered something terrifying. The vast majority of people walking around today carrying extra weight have absolutely no idea about the silent damage happening inside their bodies every single day, slowly destroying them from the inside out. The revelation that changed everything came when he completely shifted his focus away from exercise and calorie counting and looked instead at what was actually driving the obesity epidemic in the first place. And what he found was both incredibly simple and absolutely shocking: elevated blood sugar. When your blood sugar is constantly spiking throughout the day because of what you're eating, insulin follows right behind it like a shadow. And insulin has one primary job when it comes to fat. It tells your body to store it, not burn it. As long as insulin remains elevated in your system, fat burning is essentially impossible. Your body simply won't tap into those fat reserves because it's being fed a constant stream of sugar from all the carbohydrates you're eating. It has no reason to burn fat when it has an endless supply of sugar to use instead. But here's where this gets truly mind-blowing. High blood sugar isn't just a harmless marker of being a little overweight, it's a flashing red warning sign for cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death not just in the United States, but across most of the developed world. When you start thinking seriously about improving your health and actually living longer without suffering through disease, you have to ask yourself what truly matters most: blood. What should be sitting at the very top of your priority list if you want to avoid dying prematurely? Dr. Huberman looked at this question through the lens of risk factors for future disease, trying to find what really predicts who lives and who dies young. Cardiovascular disease kills more people than anything else on the planet. It's also the #1 killer of people who have diabetes. And when researchers analyze thousands of people to figure out what predicts cardiovascular disease most accurately, one single measurement rises above everything else: HbA1c. This is a marker that reflects your average blood glucose level over a 2 to 3 month period. It's not just a snapshot of what your blood sugar is doing at one random moment. It's a window into how your body has been managing sugar over weeks and months, giving you a clear picture of your metabolic health. And this single marker is incredibly powerful at predicting your risk for diseases of the eyes that can leave you blind, diseases of the kidneys that can put you on dialysis, and of course cardiovascular disease itself that can kill you suddenly without warning. So when Dr. Huberman thought deeply about how to tackle health improvement, especially for the most common and deadly diseases we face today, glucose control sat at the very top. Not exercise, though exercise helps, not even weight loss directly, though that's a welcome side effect. Glucose control. Because when you get that right, when you finally stabilize your blood sugar and keep it from spiking wildly throughout the day, everything else begins to fall into place naturally. Your energy becomes stable throughout the day instead of crashing every few hours. Your hunger normalizes and you stop feeling like you're constantly starving. Your body composition changes as fat melts away and muscle is preserved, and your risk for serious disease drops dramatically, giving you a real chance at a long, healthy life. The solution, of course, lies entirely in what you're putting into your mouth every single day. Diet is the only truly accessible way to control blood glucose on a daily basis without relying on medications or expensive interventions. And while Dr. Huberman believes the ketogenic diet is the most effective approach for most people, he's also quick to point out something important. 99% of people don't actually understand what a proper ketogenic diet looks like. The internet is absolutely flooded with conflicting information, extreme approaches that border on dangerous, and overly rigid rules that make it seem impossible to follow for more than a few days. But the truth is, a ketogenic diet has to be highly individualized based on your body, your lifestyle, your preferences, and your goals. There's no one-size-fits-all plan that works for everyone. On a fundamental level, though, there's one clear, non-negotiable goal that everyone needs to follow: reduce carbohydrates to an absolute minimum. The breakdown of fats and proteins can vary significantly from person to person based on their activity levels and metabolic needs, but the carbohydrate restriction is what creates the metabolic shift that changes everything. What Dr. Huberman found through his own painful experience and through working with countless other people is that the key to success isn't following some rigid meal plan you downloaded from the internet that was designed for someone else's body. It's starting with simple foundational principles and being brutally honest with yourself about where you're actually starting from. How many carbohydrates are you actually eating right now? How much protein are you consuming? And here's the most important part that most people skip: be completely honest about what you're eating. No shame, no judgment, no trying to make it look healthier on paper than it really is. Write down every single thing you eat for 3 days, every snack, every drink, every ingredient that goes into your mouth. Once you have that written down in front of you, look at what you're actually consuming instead of what you think you're eating. Read the labels carefully. Check the ingredients on everything. Now, go through that list and cross out all the foods whose composition you don't fully understand. The ones loaded with hidden sugar, starch, or absurdly high amounts of carbohydrates that are sabotaging you. From what's left after you've crossed things out, start building your base diet around those foods. And here's the crucial mindset shift that makes this sustainable. The goal is not to eat less food and suffer through hunger. The goal is to eat differently, choosing foods that actually satisfy you and stabilize your blood sugar. That's why you shouldn't reduce the number of meals you're eating at first. Focus on improving the quality of what you're putting on your plate. Gradually replace the carbohydrates with healthy fats or high-quality protein. Let me walk you through what this looks like in practice. Breakfast should be rich in healthy fats and protein, a combination that keeps you genuinely full for hours. An omelet cooked in real butter with bacon or smoked salmon, plus avocado on the side. No bread, no orange juice, no cereal. Just whole, nutrient-dense foods that give your body what it needs to function optimally. After breakfast, if hunger shows up mid-morning, a small protein snack works perfectly. A piece of cheese or boiled egg shuts down hunger without triggering insulin. Lunch should include healthy fat to keep energy stable throughout the afternoon. Protein should come with fiber for satisfaction and digestive health. A piece of meat, whether steak, chicken, or fatty fish, cooked in butter or olive oil and served with leafy greens like spinach, broccoli, or cauliflower, dressed with extra virgin olive oil. If needed, add a light snack after lunch. A handful of nuts or full-fat Greek yogurt keeps you satisfied. Dinner is best kept lighter to avoid stressing digestion before sleep, but filling enough so you're not struggling with hunger at night. Fiber becomes key here. A vegetable salad dressed with olive oil plus chicken broth as a light source of protein and fat. After dinner, skip snacks and give your digestive system a real break. This allows your body to enter that fasted state overnight, where the most significant metabolic shifts happen. So you have a complete daily plan where you didn't skip meals, didn't starve yourself, and still kept your blood glucose stable throughout the day. Even after just the first day of eating like this, you'll feel a noticeable difference in how your body responds. You can decide for yourself whether this works for you. But everything should be individualized. Work with the foods you already have access to. Don't turn this into some stressful hunt for perfect exotic ingredients. You already have vegetables, meat, or fish in your kitchen right now. That's more than enough to get started today. The science is clear on this. Carbohydrates from food are the most potent factor in regulating glucose elevations at every meal. Most people eat 3 to 4 or more meals daily, often with snacks in between. So the first logical place to look is at the food itself, because what you're consuming has the most direct and powerful impact on glucose control. And glucose control has the most powerful impact on your overall health, not just today, but for years into your future. Now here's another important psychological trick Dr. Huberman emphasizes. Don't tell yourself no about the foods you love. Instead, look for alternatives that satisfy the same craving without destroying your progress. Go back to that list you made of foods you crossed out. Ask yourself honestly whether any can be replaced with something similar you can make yourself. If you miss bread, bake your own using almond flour instead of wheat flour. If you're craving desserts, have fresh berries with heavy cream or full-fat Greek yogurt, which feels indulgent but doesn't sabotage your progress. This might sound too good to be true, but if you're truly committed to losing weight and improving your health, these psychological shifts matter enormously. When you approach it this way, you don't feel like you're on some miserable, restrictive diet. Your life continues feeling relatively normal. You're still eating the same number of meals. You're even treating yourself to things that feel like desserts, just in a different form that doesn't destroy your blood sugar. But at the same time, major changes are happening inside your body at a cellular level. Stabilizing your blood glucose leads directly to stable insulin levels, and when insulin stabilizes, those relentless hunger attacks, those sudden, overwhelming cravings, they begin to fade away naturally. You'll notice the constant urge to snack between meals disappears on its own. You won't have to fight willpower battles that leave you exhausted. You simply won't want to snack anymore because your body is finally getting the nutrients it needs. Sooner or later, even those intense cravings for sweets start to fade away. This happens because your body fully switches over to fat metabolism as its primary fuel source. It no longer depends on quick hits of carbohydrates just to function. Your energy becomes steady and reliable. Your mood stabilizes, and you stop experiencing those crashes that make you irritable and foggy. And then something truly remarkable happens. Your portion sizes start to shrink naturally, not because you're forcing yourself to eat less, but because you genuinely feel full faster. The number on the scale begins to drop almost effortlessly, often faster than you'd expect, without the constant struggle of traditional dieting. Dr. Huberman found through extensive experience that when you look at someone's existing diet and identify what's already aligned with a ketogenic approach and use those as the foundation, then find suitable replacements for what's missing, that's when long-term sustainability becomes possible. If someone misses bread, they need to know they can make low-carb bread. If they want dessert occasionally, they need alternatives that won't sabotage their progress. When people understand they can have versions of foods they enjoy, it stops that feeling of deprivation that kills adherence. It stops people from thinking they can't maintain this lifestyle because there are too many things they can never have again. With the popularity of ketogenic eating today, these alternatives are readily available online, in cookbooks, in YouTube videos. The resources are there if you're willing to look. Of course, another real challenge is the time it takes to prepare alternatives and cook from scratch. Not everyone has hours to spend in the kitchen, especially if you're working full-time and managing a family. But think about this in the context of the long term instead of demanding perfection immediately. If you don't have the time right now to completely overhaul your entire diet overnight, don't force yourself into radical methods just because they promise the fastest results. A gradual approach works better for most people and lasts much longer. If you're not ready to cut carbohydrates completely from every meal, start by reducing them by 50% and see how that feels. If you don't have time to prepare a proper breakfast, that's fine. Focus on improving just your dinner or lunch at first, whichever meal is easiest to control. The key point that cannot be overstated is this: even one properly balanced meal each day already triggers real metabolic changes in your body. Yes, those changes may be small at first, but they are completely real and measurable. What matters most is not stopping when things get hard. Use those small changes as momentum that builds on itself. Let each improvement lead